Hello again, peoples of the internet. I'm the animation analyst, and we're back again for one last round of Sonic Superstars goodness. So, last time when I streamed myself playing this game, I spent over 2 hours attempting the final boss of the story mode for the new character introduced in the game, Trip the Sungazer. As per her being abused by Fang for most of the original story mode, her playthrough is about getting closure on her clapping back against Fang for said abuse and finishing him off. Now, you might notice a difference here in that, just like the new Sonic Frontiers video I just posted earlier, this part is also being done via post-commentary, because I finally beat this boss off-stream a couple months back. Basically, I got distracted with other things going on, and when I picked Superstars back up just to play again for the hell of it, I decided to just try beating the boss again and capturing a replay of a successful run if I got one, which I obviously did, hence this video. So, I apologize for all 2 of you who cared about seeing my live reactions to playing these games and were hoping to hear me pop off again after finally overcoming this bullshit. But if you have seen any of the streams I did of Frontiers or Superstars, you can probably already put an idea in your head of how I reacted, I'm sure. Anyway, with all that obligatory exposition out of the way, let's get into the video proper of me beating Fang, and his Fangbot, as I'm just gonna call it. So of course, going back into Fang's boss fight, we just start off right at the end of Egg Fortress Act 2. Get your rings real quick, because you're going to need every single one of those, especially if you're not optimized to this boss yet and keep getting hit a lot. So dropping off into the arena for the boss itself as I skip past the cutscenes because I already saw them plenty of times in the stream. So his first attack here is obviously he starts off with a couple rounds of missiles. Nothing too crazy, just keep moving and you should always be able to avoid them, no problem. Now for his next attack, he's going to have these diamond prisms around him that shoot out a long-ass beam of insta-kill death. But as I showed off there, one way that you can get around this is if you position Fang just right, you can actually roll under him to avoid them completely and get a free pot shot in the back. And as I learned from, later on when I was doing attempts at this boss, no, the flame exhaust at the end of his bike doesn't have a hitbox. So yeah. Now for this attack here, he's going to come down with the... I'm going to try to dive bomb with some fake ghost versions of himself. You just want to pay attention for which one is the real one. It's going to be like a set of 2 and a set of 3, and it's random which set goes first. So just pay attention for which set is coming down, and if that's the one that Fang's in, and remember or which position he's in. And yeah, like I said, for this attack, what they intend for you to do is to just, wait it out and, watch your movement and avoid the spinning lasers as they're coming. But as I showed off, you can position yourself just right to get under Fang to avoid it entirely. And the way that works is that Fang always, spawns, a certain distance above, the part of the track that he comes in on. And, if you position yourself just right, as I end up failing to do here, you can see me showing off the proper way of what they intend for you to do here. At least I presume it's the main intended way anyway. But what you want to do is, you want to position yourself so that you're a little ways away from, one of the peaks of the track. You're, one of the high peaks right here. And, if you have it happen just right, Fang will be at a certain height, and then if you keep moving, he'll stay at that height while the track starts to dip again to give you an opening to get that free pot shot at the back, like I said. But it's a lot easier in the first units when he only has 3, as we saw. After you do a few hits, his attacks get a little bit more crazy, so you just have to be a bit more wary of that. You can still get by, and I think I might show it off if I remember correctly. It's just a bit harder. And yeah, for the dive bomb attack, it's the same thing. He just comes down faster, and you can use the spin dash, as I showed, to get a hit in him instead of just trying to jump into him. But it is a bit more risky because, if you miss, you're potentially dropping off and falling into your death. And yeah, like I said, if you don't manage to get under Fang, you just want to, like, switch between holding and, like, gently tapping on the D-pad, provided you're using the D-pad and not using the joystick like a madman when playing an actual 2D game. But after 6 hits, that's when the second phase of the fight begins. We get the actual Fangbot, and this is where the bullshit begins, as most people would describe it. First attack, he's going to summon, like, some Badniks similar to the Sand Sanctuary boss, and you just want to jump into them before they hit the ground, and they'll go back and hit the Fangbot in the background. And this attack with the electric nets, it was one of the biggest reasons why this boss gave me and so many other people such shit. What they want you to do is, like, jump in between the nets, like, as they're falling, and, like, there's little openings, things like, depending on their position when they fire. But as what I'm showing off here, what you can do is, when you see the reticles, like, go into place and start flashing, what you want to do is you want to set yourself at any of the peaks on the track. It can be the low one, the higher ones, but as soon as, like, they start flashing, you want to be on one of those and double jump, and that way you can walk or run just right under him. And as I also showed off, it's not just the Badniks, he also has a bomb attack, where the way that one works is that, he drops them and they split between, like, some green ones and some red ones. You want to hit the green ones, they all bounce around, so you have to, like, avoid the red ones and try to hit one of the green ones. As I showed off when it happened earlier. Or, like, you can potentially, like, like, hit it, like, right when it spawns, and even though you take damage, you still technically hit the green one, and it counts. But again, just, like, if that does happen, just try to get your rings back for the love of God. But yeah, it's like, after, like, you do enough hits, like, it's every 3 hits where, like, he goes into another phase, like, the next part of this second phase, like, I don't think in Phase 2 that the attacks really get any faster or harder from what I remember. At least I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Maybe, like, he's more prone to change it, because, like, I've had some times where when he's shooting out his nets, sometimes he only stops after doing 1 or 2 sets of nets and then tries firing the cork at you, which, as a reminder, is insta-kill if you get hit by it, regardless if you get caught in a net or something. But yeah, after you do another 3 hits, which is 6 by now, this is going to be the point in the fight where the real bullshit of this boss happens, and is what the reason why even after I started getting good at this fight, even at this point, like in this phase, like, I just eventually gave up, because there's, like, one attack that he does here that is just... were the designers just deciding to feel mean or something? Like, seriously. And that's saying a lot, considering, like, the attacks at the end of the Eggman boss that people hated. And it's this attack right here. He slams the front and back of the current part of the track you're on. He does a fucking headbutt nose peck into the ground, and you only have those slight areas free to avoid getting hit or falling to your death, as I showed. And what you want to do there is, in between any of his attacks, like after an attack finishes and you see him, like, emit steam, which means he's about to move on to another attack, get one of your Chaos Emerald powers on standby. I mostly recommend Slow and the Avatar ability, as I showed off earlier, because Avatar are, like, as long as you dodge and don't get hit by, like either his arms or his head, it's free damage. And then the next time he does it, as I'm activating it right now on standby, is Slow, because that obviously, like, makes it set up so that you'll have a much easier time getting said hit in. I think you can use other powers, like maybe Bullet, but that one would be a lot harder to use, I think. But yeah, as I'm showing off here, getting ready, setting myself up, I got bounced up, because, yeah, like, if you're on the ground, like, when he slams, that can happen. But yeah, activated Slow, got the last hit in there, finally done with this fucking boss. Fuck you. And I think with, like, how many attempts this took, on top of how many it took me on, like, my previous stream, I think I did this in, like, it took me, like, maybe 4 hours to do. Which kind of lines up with what my friend Grant said about how long it took him to beat this boss. him saying that it took him 5 hours, so that was pretty much on point. But I still beat it faster than him, so ha! I'm the superior Sonicsburg! But I'm not done yet, peoples, because after you beat Trip's story, you unlock the last story, something us fans of 3D Sonic games should be totally familiar with, but is technically a major first for a classic Sonic game. And this last story comes with the game's true final boss, what the wiki refers to as simply the Black Dragon. And I should also note that the footage here of this cutscene and the new world map is from a playthrough I ripped off of YouTube, because I didn't remember to capture gameplay of it myself when I decided to also give this boss some attempts. Those of you with eagle eyes might be able to tell based on the buttons in the UI being based on an Xbox controller instead of the PS5, which is what I have. But I assure you the boss footage itself is my own. I also did skip past some in-game cutscenes at the beginning and for the transition into Phase 2, just to let you know. But if you really want to see those, either play the game yourself, or you can just look at another more professional YouTuber's playthrough. So if you played Sonic Mania, mechanically speaking, this last boss is mostly pretty similar to that. You free control Super Sonic in a wide arena, and you also have a dash move that takes away some of your rings. So for his first attack here is going to be launching these fireball attacks. And similar to other attacks like the missiles for the last Eggman boss, you want to be looking out for some blue ones that he shoots out, and as long as you're under them, that'll count. Like, you don't need to dash into them, just being into them will count. That was me having a quick pause. I think it was me talking with one of my friends about this attack right here, which is, he puts the arena with like a whole bunch of these long branches of crystals, and I still don't really understand that attack. But, I guess I can talk a bit more of that, because for this attack, he's going to be shooting up these black holes, which if you get caught in and don't, like, dash out of soon enough, I believe they are an insta-kill. So what you want to do is just maneuver around those and hit the dragon right in its belly area, because I don't think hits to the face count. And also similarly to the last boss of Sonic Mania, the last Super Sonic boss anyway, random rings will be strewn around the arena, so whenever you're in between attacks, you just want to be moving around, like, to catch those, because you have a slight magnet effect to you. And as you saw there, if you get hit by, like, the red meteors, you're just put in a knockback state, which, if it's right next to a blue meteor, your knockback state will prevent you from hitting that. And as you can see here, occasionally throughout the fight, I think it's like every 30 seconds or so from my research, one of Sonic's friends, like Tails or Knuckles, will spawn in and drop some more rings, and if you get near them and touch them, you'll get a big bonus of rings, you know, as a way to help further keep your ring count up. And, you know, like I said, for the black holes, just maneuver them up or down. I think it gets random, like, where he spits them, though it could also be based on you bobbing and weaving. There was also, like, that giant spin attack we saw earlier, and that's another one where, like, it doesn't hurt you. Like, outside of, like, the black hole attack, none of the dragon's attacks actually hurt you. So, like, especially with, like, downtime in between attacks, it's like, there's just, like, a lot of time, like, burned in this boss fight. It's like, a lot of it's just, like, a time sink. Here's Tails showing up and also giving me some rings, being the lad that he is. We love Tails here. And yeah, here's the spin attack again. Like I said, like, if he hits you, it doesn't do anything except knock you back. Maybe if he hits you, he'll go, like, for one more turnaround and maybe make it draw out more, you know, make you lose even more of your precious ring resource. I guess, but I honestly don't know. But again, for, like, that attack with, like, the branching crystals, like, that one in particular is literally just a time waster, because all that happens is that he throws them, like, the branches in, you can move around and break them, and any ones that you don't break will turn into like those red crystals that shoot out all over the place. And again, like all it's there for is to just waste time, I feel. And yeah, here it is again right here, because like you see me moving around, I'm breaking the crystals, and then they eventually turn red, they split all over the place, and yeah, like you'll get knocked back, but I mean, I guess it's a thing where, like, depending on, like, your timing and the boss, if, like, Tails or Knuckles decide to show up, then maybe it's like, oh, like, you're getting knocked back, you can't get to Tails or Knuckles in time to get a bigger ring bonus. But honestly, I just think that's kind of not exactly a great design choice in the first place. It's like if your method of, like, boss design is just making things be prolonged more and, like, more of, like, a war of attrition, it's hard for me to, like, really say that's, like, a great design for a boss, really. But I guess, like, as we're, like, in between repeated attacks right now, I guess I can use this time to comment on, like, the music for the fight itself, and the music for the Fangbot, because I never got to really comment on that, and I don't think I brought it up when I streamed it. The Fang fight music, it's okay. I think I like the Eggman final boss from the base game more. Like, I think that might be, like, one of the best tracks in Superstar's soundtrack outside of the obvious, like, everything done by my man T. Lopes. And as for the music for the Black Dragon, it's good. Not like my favorite, like, you know, music for a supersonic final boss, but it gets the job done for something that feels pretty climactic. But yeah, like I said, in between, like, any attacks, like, especially ones like this and the crystal attack that are just there to really waste time, just keep moving and try to get as many stray rings as you can, because you're gonna need every single one for Phase 2, which, as I say, we're going into right now. As I said, I skipped the cutscene here. Things got a lot more dramatic looking with these blue tornado hurricane spirals in the background. Now, for first attack here, he's going to have, like, these ghost hands, which just swing around, but as you saw there, you can hit them to damage the boss itself. So what you want to do there, whenever, like, he's swiping, and you want to move, and then just before the attack ends, you want to, like, jet back so that you can hit him and do some damage. And that attack there is he spits out these giant waves. You want to go inside the hole so that you can avoid getting knocked back. Again, no actual damage that makes you lose ring. And what we saw there is the second phase's variation of the black hole attack, where instead he just shoots more giant fireballs. Those ones just knock you back, they don't kill you or anything. So you might think that it's, like, easier than the attack in phase 1, but the caveat there is that the fireballs, while they don't kill you, they do knock you back very far, so, like, for what's the most free chance to hit the boss, like, if you get knocked back, you're potentially, like, deprived of another hit on him. And as you saw there, or as you do more hits, the claws will turn into, like, a double set of claw swipes. So when that happens, you just want to wait for the second one to swipe, and then do the same strat as before, and, like, just barely jet back to hit it, and you should be able to get more free damage. And for the fireballs, what you want to do is you want to bob and weave, these ones especially, like, you know, he always, like, you know, seems to do it right on your location, so if you're bobbing and weaving, you should be able to maneuver around the fireballs fairly easily. But yeah, up until we do, like, more hits to get into, like, the last part of Phase 2, we've really seen everything that this boss is all about at this point. And like I said, like, with attacks like this and, like, the weird crystal branch shit, like, the boss is just, like, kind of like a big time waster, which is really my issue with it. Like otherwise, aside from the shit we're gonna see right at the end of the fight, the boss is just kind of okay, now, this is the last part of Phase 2 where you can see Supersonic actually facing the boss. So what he's going to do here, he's going to be shooting some fireballs towards you, and you want to time a button press as that cursor lines up with the fireball there. You need to do that 5 times in a row, and if you mess up, you have to do the attack all over again. After you do it successfully, he's going to fire this giant beam of fire for about like 5 seconds or so. And then it's going to come to a cursor appearing on the dragon itself. You need to time it similar to the fireballs. And you got the last hit in, and you successfully beat this fucker. And yeah, like I said, if you mess that up at all, like it goes right back to the beginning where you have to like time the fireballs, and that includes that last hit there. So just get your timing right, and you should be fine. God, that last cutscene is just so wholesome. Sonic and Trip getting lauded by the Northstar Island Flickies for saving them. Like, that's the kind of cute shit I love in Sonic, particularly the classic stuff. But yeah, peoples, that's the end of Sonic Superstars. As for any last notes on that final boss itself, in regards to timing in hitting those fireballs in that last attack, the timing is relatively tight from my experience. But I want to say if you press the button slightly before the reticle's about to perfectly line up, you should be able to get it fairly consistently. But yeah, that attack in particular is why I recommend trying to get your ring count as high as possible for Phase 2, so that you'll have more time to get a feel for hitting those fireballs. If you keep at it, you should eventually find a rhythm for hitting them back to back like I did there. Also, I think that getting hit by that beam of fire will also cause the attack cycle to reset and make you have to hit the fireballs all over again, but I'm not 100% sure on that one, so just try not to get hit by it regardless. Oh yeah, and I should also make note that it's not just Tails and Knuckles who can spawn in to give you rings, because if you last about a minute in that last part of Phase 2 and not get hit by any of the Black Dragon's last attacks, Amy and Trip will show up and drop not just normal rings, but ring boxes to give you an extra boost as you're struggling with getting that last hit in. So a slightly nice move from the devs, although I personally would have just not made the boss go on that long and make that last hit so specific to do. But what do I know? I'm not a professional game developer. Now, a lot of people, including myself, were probably very caught off guard by there suddenly being a giant dragon for the true final boss of the game. And I think even Ian Flynn said that there were supposedly plans to better foreshadow this in Superstars itself. But similarly to the Bio-Lizard in Sonic Adventure 2, the Black Dragon doesn't come completely out of nowhere, as Eggman finding a mural with the dragon on it happens at the end of what is now the traditional animated short make before Superstars release, Trio of Trouble. Hence that crude drawing of it we saw in that last cutscene, it being drawn by Eggman, and I want to say that there was a joke about it looking more like a cow than the dragon itself in that short. I also think said mural, or another one similar to it with the dragon on it, can be seen in that in-game cutscene at the end of Knuckles' Act of Golden Capital. Now, from what little context we can gather, it basically seems like an ancient race of sun gazers, which are no doubt ancestors of Trip, used the power of the Chaos Emeralds to seal the Black Dragon away in that gem egg-looking thing we saw, continuing off of Frontiers adding more lore to the Chaos Emeralds, you know? Also, apparently the concept of the dragon itself as the last boss was a scrapped concept from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is hinted at in the Japanese manual of the game, in that Knuckles alludes to a prophecy where an egg would cause a dragon to be unleashed and bring about disaster. The egg likely being mistaken as Eggman's death egg, but maybe being revealed to be the egg of the dragon itself? Who knows? But yeah, like I was saying, for that fight itself as a whole, it's just okay. I mean, aside from the tedium of how specific getting that last hit on the dragon is, like I was saying, my main issue is just, and this goes for a lot of the bosses that I had experience with in the game as all, it's just how long it goes on for. Because even when doing it optimally, from what I've seen of other people playing it on YouTube, it lasts for about like 5 to 6 minutes on average. which wouldn't be too much of an issue in my opinion if about a third of that was spent on waiting for another chance to do actual damage, which as me and several other people have touched on is just kind of a recurring issue with boss design and Sonic Superstars in general. Which I guess with me saying that, this is as good a time as any for me to go into my final thoughts on Superstars as a whole, for now anyway. Well, to paraphrase Bugs Bunny from the Looney Tunes show, I like it. Is it as good as Mania? No, but it didn't need to be, at least I don't think so. As just another entry in the classic Sonic style of games, it's a damn solid entry in my opinion. I love the new levels we explore. The level design itself is mostly pretty damn solid with some really fun unique level gimmicks that give even more of an identity to said new zones. On top of the addition of more original level-specific Badniks, which I always love to see, like the kangaroos in Pinball Carnival, the frogs in Speed Jungle, the vultures in Sand Sanctuary, etc. Then of course we have the Emerald powers, which are a fantastic addition to spice up gameplay and add a ton of extra replay value to the game. Yeah, not all of them are outstanding, but I wouldn't say any of them are bad either. And then there's the addition of Trip, who's a delightful, adorable, fun new character, and the fact that you can play as her too is just a great unlock for beating the main game itself. Her own story mode and its hang-ups notwithstanding, obviously. And all the other characters are still really fun to play with as well. Amy in particular is really fun with her hammer and double jumps. And I like the addition of character-specific acts that take advantage of their own unique gameplay quirks to spice up the game in a way that doesn't heavily deviate from the core design philosophies of Sonic. Something I think a number of 3D games could have definitely leaned more towards. Wink wink, nudge nudge. And as for the soundtrack, the thing that makes or breaks a lot of Sonic games, mostly makes, I will unironically defend most of the game's soundtrack, especially Golden Capital Act 1. Fuck the haters, that track is a vibe. But I will at least concur that some of the tracks in the latter half of the game, i.e. the ones that are mostly done by Jun Sonoi himself, are the weak link in what would otherwise be a definitive damn solid addition to the soundtracks of the Sonic series. And to touch on actual negatives, I can also agree that yes, the boss fights are the worst part of the game. Like the soundtrack though, I will defend most of them, in the base game itself I should stress, not the rematches in Trip's story. In fact, I'll even defend the final Eggman fight itself in the base game, because while still kind of long, that one's a lot more fair of a challenge, and can even be somewhat fun with good use of your Emerald powers or character-specific abilities. Amy makes it, and the other bosses for that matter, a complete joke, from my experience. But when the bosses are tedious, long, and kinda bullshit hard, yeah, they're pretty miserable even in my opinion. Is that enough to drag Superstars down into being an arguably bad game? No, absolutely not. I still believe there's more than enough fun to be had with Superstars than just the main campaign itself, which is how I'm going to be playing this game for the rest of my life. Yeah, Trip's story mode is pretty dumb and tedious a lot of the time, and that final boss can blow me. And the Supersonic fight is admittedly not the strongest true final boss in a Sonic game. But I still have a lot of fun just playing through the normal stages as each of the characters and finding new ways to speedrun, or just casually navigate through them with the Emerald powers. And like any good Sonic game, it's filled with so much character and charm that even when some bullshit parts popped up, I can never stay mad or frustrated at it for long. But anyway, I guess if I had to say where Superstars would rank in comparison to the other classic games, those being Sonic 1, 2, CD, and 3, and Knuckles, and Mania, obviously, I'd say it's tied with Sonic 1 as my least favorite of the games, but that's not saying much at all, because I still also really enjoy Sonic 1. So yeah, I stand by in my opinion that there is no bad classic Sonic games. And in case anyone's wondering, what about Sonic 4 Episode 1 and 2? I say, what about Sonic 4 Episode 1 and 2? Oh yeah, and to comment on it quickly, no, I've still not experienced the game's 4-player co-op firsthand, but even just by looking at it, I know for a fact that it's jank as fuck. So, no thanks. I'll pass. But yeah, I guess that's all I can think to say for now. This has been Sonic Superstars. It's a pretty darn good, fun game overall, and I genuinely hope Naoto Oshima and the rest of the guys at Arzest can get another chance to make another game like this in the future. One that hopefully improves upon the shortcomings this game had to make the true Mania successor most of us are no doubt waiting for. Heck, just make the bosses more consistently fun and shorter and we'll be golden as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, next time you see me streaming Sonic again, we'll be going through a blast of the past as well as another taste of the future when I stream myself playing the next mainline game, Sonic X Shadow Generations. Sayonara, everyone!